Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My name is Nur,
My name is Nur.
and together we are light-hearted
Dads. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Light-Hearted Dads. Alhamdulillah, we are on our 7th or 8th episode.
It's number 8.
MashaAllah. Number 8. And it's gone really fast. I've really enjoyed it. And I've learned a lot so far. And today, Nuri Bhai, I would like to talk about something very important that has come to my attention today. And I think it's a very good subject. Kids and knives. The ghetto life and the father's involvement in the children's life, whether it's a girl or a woman, girl or a boy, girl or a woman, girl or a boy. I just want to get some gems off you on this particular subject. So first and foremost, Assalamu alaikum Nuri Bhai.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
And let's start with the knife crimes.
Yeah, I know. This obviously has been quite a hot topic for a lot of parents recently as well. Or just people, forget parents. Because obviously, especially, I know for us, we're living in Tower Hamlets, and there was a spike in kind of knife-related or kind of a crime or attacks that took place quite closely to each other. I think within the space of 2 weeks, quite a few that took place. And naturally, that heightened a lot of fears for people, and namely parents, really. I know straight away I was having that conversation with my wife. My wife naturally will be more fearful. My kids, a lot of the time, they travel alone to school, and we're quite off. It's a 40-odd minute journey, public transport going back and forth. And some of the incidents that took place was in and around or near their school area. I mean, near enough anyway. So I remember having that conversation, and it is something which obviously naturally would spike a lot of fear within parents because what's going on, safety of the kids. But then there's also the other side, which is what is going on? Why is there suddenly a rise, or it seems like a rise, in more knife-related incidents happening? So what do you think? Why is that?
To be honest, I've never thought about as to why there is a rise in knife crimes. But I think we are trying to imitate a rap culture, the grime music. Can't believe the amount of kids nowadays listen to grime music. I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense. The lyrics are horrible.
So for those of us who are very innocent in all of this, I don't really know what is grime music.
Is it grime or is it one of those those kids that ghetto music?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think you mean grime, but what is it for?
I actually don't like. Literally, it's like rapping and some ghetto kind of vibe. It's all about the sounds. The sounds, like even sometimes when it just comes across me, I go, whoa, that's some sick beats. But I'm a lyrics guy. I listen to lyrics, and when I listen to the lyrics, it's all about like some turf war, some drugs, sex, what this man did to this other man in the next crew, next area, all this stuff, and it's just horrible. Like I get some kids just listen to beats. I always say there's two types of people: the ones that just like background noise, just like there's they like the beat and stuff like that. The one that will sing along, but not fully register what they're singing, but they sing it, they memorize it, they go along with the beat. And the third one is someone who actually focuses in the lyrics and just like plays with the emotions. And I'm that guy. I listen to the lyrics and he plays with my emotion. Wherever I'm driving or whether I'm just home or anything along those lines, I listen to lyrics and I relate it to myself. And then I think like kids nowadays are getting influenced by this kind of sort of music. Like literally, I know this young kid who's practicing, and I was taking him to some Islamic retreat. He's a young kid and he's like one of those projects, like trying to get him into deen and stuff. That I just to blend in with him, I just said, "Oh, what do you listen to?" He goes, "Grime music." I said, "Oh, is it? So like, why don't you just Bluetooth what you listen to?" He Bluetoothed it, and I was like, "Wow, I would have never thought you listened to this. Like, you're such a good kid. Your etiquettes and everything is brilliant. Why you listen to this crap for?" Because I just like it. I go, "What do you like about it? It's horrible." So yeah, so definitely, I think the music industry, people are becoming a bit scared. They feel like they have to defend themselves in the streets, where back in the days it was all about a fist,
Fist fighting.
yeah, or one on one, and then there was that group fighting. But it's always been punching. Even in school, it was even you might get weapons here and there, like knuckle dusters or a bat or like golf club or whatever it is. It would never go as far as a knife. It will always be like the furthest is like a belt or something like that. But now kids are going to school with knives. It's gone to that stage where they're like, you know what, we have to take it a step further. We have to be a bit bigger than the person that's attacking me, or I have to defend myself with a knife. It's gone to that stage, not realizing that the next thing will be, who knows if gun gets legalized or anything. It won't, but what's to say that they can't get guns? It's so easy to get guns now. That's the level it is at the moment.
Yeah, you touched on some really important points there, and I think when we talked about music, I think the first things, like you said, you might have a good kid who's generally good and well and all of those things, but he's listening to this kind of stuff. Now, I always go back and I say this is one of the things I always say. I said music is like one of the sources of a lot of evils. There's a reason why it's haram. There's a reason why, these are things that the Prophet ﷺ talked about. When he talks about music and the musical instruments, they're the instruments of shaitan. Because, the impact that music in itself has is, and I'm sure everybody can relate to it, whether you've listened to music or not. But for example, you're in a supermarket, they use a certain type of music in order to and I remember there was some whole thing about when you're in certain shops, like fast food shops, they tend to play a certain, well, they're supposed to anyway. I don't think PFCs do, but they play like a fast kind of music because the idea of it is like it's meant to make you actually work fast, shop faster. There's other ones was a bit more slower and thing. Again, it's meant to where you take your time. So I think like in the
IKEA.
in the wine aisles, I've heard. I don't know. I've never come across the shop, but I remember reading an article that in aisles where they got wine, they play slower music, or if they want you.
Oh, you've noticed it?
No, I've not noticed it. Yeah, because like I said, I don't walk to the wine aisles, but I've never seen a shop where they've had a dedicated aisle for music. I don't know because I only go to Asda, and Asda's got like one thing playing in the whole shop. Yeah. But
Spice Girls,
or whatever that is.
Girls Aloud. Trust me, it's always women music.
But the thing with the whole thing is that meant to be either they might play like an Italian kind of song, so then it will entice the person towards purchasing the Italian type of wine or the whatever it is. So there's a whole thing I was reading up on. But besides that being the point is that what music actually does, it plays with emotions. You talked about emotions. Yeah. So have you not seen people who that talk about when they're sad, they start playing all these sad and emotional songs, yeah, that make you want to kill yourself or something, yeah. Then they've got other kind of songs where they've got that music that can hype you up. And they've got musics that are for different kind of situations. And can you see they all are playing with the emotional heartstrings, strings of the heart, and that's very dangerous. If there's something that can impact your mood, make you happy and sad, that's dangerous.
It is dangerous,
and that's what the problem you have, especially with this grime stuff. What I've understood is that, especially if the people are in fight mode, you can hype them up to go out and now start fighting with other people, especially when there's some turf wars and other issues taking place. So that's the danger that you have. So music in itself, as parents, unfortunately, I'm just seeing more and more Muslims just so casual about music. How can you be? And I know my kids, we raised that one of the key points of their differentiations from the rest of their peers are on certain things. So when they go to school, generally speaking, nearly every single child listens to music, and they are the strangers because they don't listen to music. They don't know music. And, that even with teachers, they might make a reference to something and have an expectation that children will understand what they're talking about. My kids don't. And because we've always ensured that, no, this is wrong, this is haram. It's just, these are instruments of shaitan. And, alhamdulillah, they've been raised upon that. But this is strange in this society now amongst Muslims that, there'll be kids who do everything. There was my daughter was telling me that there's somebody else, she's got a classmate or a friend. She actually memorized the Quran. But one thing they do still do is listen to music. And I just find that so opposite. How is that possible? How is that there's complete opposites?
Okay, so like I get the fact that your kids don't listen to music. And for those that are listening and want to pick up how to come out of it or educate the kids or how to actually avoid falling into the situation where they're listening to music and the kids are listening to music, and the future generation, it just carries on. How do we prevent something like this?
Obviously, the first thing where it always starts from is yourself. As a parent, as an individual, it's yourself. If you can't fix yourself, the expectation of the children is going to be a lot more harder. So you need to be able to rein that in yourself. Now, music, you know, again, I can't be I can't talk about this much because I have really no experience on this
Okay,
yet.
so I do. I have
How
like
do you come out of music? For
yeah.
example?
So I remember being heavily involved in listening to music, and then I've had a gap of 2.5 years of not listening to music, and then I started to listen to music again, and then I stop and I battle. Does it make sense? And one of the key things that helped me was finding nasheeds to replace it initially. After the nasheeds, I moved on to listen to Quran, and after a very long time, um, something is Instagram. Honestly speaking, right? It's one of those that came into, that they do reels,
Mm.
and then you see people like do something, but the music is in the back. They add it on, and you're like, oh, that's a sick beat. Let me see the name. Let me Google it. Let me YouTube it. I'm listening to it. Then he was like, oh, that's nice, man. Like, even though I've got a playlist of Quran reciters, there's another little folder of like a playlist. Just added onto that, and it grew over time. And then like it started off with me going back into Bengali music. I thought, oh, Bengali music, you know what I mean? It's like harmless. It's not like violent, and it's not um, sexual or about drugs or anything along those lines. And literally, I just started listening to loads of Bengali songs, and then slowly, when moved back into Indian songs, and then getting bored of it, listen to English songs, and then all this drama, addicted to bass, and all this stuff started coming in. So and then I went back to not listening to music. How I prevent it is by, to be honest, get the playlist, delete it, start all over again. So how I did it before didn't listen to music for 2 years was I just deleted all the music on my laptop, my phone, like around me. I just said, look, no music in this house, no music. But then slowly, I started listening to Quran. I started finding some nice reciters, and then passing it on to my family members. That's what they do. All the kids now listen to Quran and go to sleep. So that's slowly, the kids are like saying Allah, Allah. So that means they want to go to sleep. So they call Allah sleep,
Mm.
which means put the Quran on. That's what we've embedded into their head. So that's what we did initially to stop. We stopped ourselves. Once we stopped ourselves, then what we did was we implemented it into the household. And sooner or later, we started sharing like good reciters to each other, because we know like you can't listen to one person for a year, 2 year, 3 year. We should really promote stuff like this, and which we actually don't. Do you get it? We don't actually pass, reciters among each other. And then you get a problem of when you start reciting, someone goes, "Oh, he's singing. Really, he's not really reciting." So this is the problem with our society. We have too much problems. There's some sheikhs, wallahi, they're amazing. They're really, really good. But I just can't listen to them. But apparently, these are legit. And the ones that we listen to, it's not legit. Because it feels like they're singing, they're thinking it, glamorizing the words of Allah. And it's hard. It's really, really hard, because you're fighting left, right, center. You're trying to do good, and then people are like I get brothers coming into my car and say, "Oh yeah, change that, please." I go, "Why? It's Quran, man. Relax." He goes, "No, no, no. He's glamorizing and stuff like that." I said, "I don't feel like having these brothers in my car." Do you get where I'm coming from?
Mm.
So, so where I'm getting at is like I stopped that. I said, I don't care. Like, if in order for me to stop listening to music, I'm having to um like listen to this. This is the closest thing that makes me satisfied, that is keeping me on the Quran length. Doesn't make the Quran listen to the Quran. Doesn't make sense.
Mm.
So recently, I've stopped listening to music again. Does it make sense? Because I just said, you know what? Let's cut this. I just said, and my heart is just feeling, um, like like it's not feeling easy. Do you get it? It's like I'm feeling like my emotion is driven by the music, the beats, while I'm driving or when I'm working and stuff like that. So, so the only advice I can give people is, you know what? If you can't fix yourself, don't expect your kids to stop listening to music, because that's something that gets passed on. Don't expect your brothers and sisters to stop listening to music, because they'll always have it in the background. But you have to be firm about it. And you know what? We find cute. We find cute that kids dance to music when they listen to beats or waka waka or wherever it is, and they move towards it. Do you get it? And then what happens is we find that cute, so we just allow it, and then we start going into it. Does it make sense? Like, these kind of things are apparently in society a cool thing to have, a cool thing to see. Or, you know, it's Becky, look at him dancing, or her dancing. It's horrible. So,
no, I think you're right. You know, obviously, I can't really talk much about individual getting out of it, but the first and foremost place is that you've got to fix yourself. Once you do that, then getting your kids to follow suit is a lot more easier with anything. Any habits you do start, you leave. And I know we've talked about habits before, how you can start a new habit, how you can drop
yeah.
a bad habit. So, inshallah, you know, that's something we can pick up on and try like that as well. So there are many methods, but the key thing is, look, music, as parents, you have to stop. You need to stop, and you need to make sure that you are actually regulating your children, not just allowing it to happen. You know, like I said, I know there are initiates that my kids do listen to it, and you know that's the only kind of thing that they do listen to. That obviously there's Quran as well, but there's also recitation of Quran. We should never ever think that everything should be a replacement for the recitation. So a lot of it is because our hearts are far away from the Quran, and our habits are far away from the Quran, and then that's been filled with these things. And then what happens is of shaitans that play with it, making it more attractive and more glamorous. And, you know, people are just really stuck to it. And some people do. Some people find this very hard to let go of. That's their weakness. For other people, it's not a problem. Everybody has obviously different weaknesses, so I can understand that, you know, the struggle will be different for each type of person. But that is a key thing. If you can do that, then that's a good thing. That's why, like I said, you find good kids listen to grime. So what's going to happen over time is going to wear away at them. It's going to wear away at them. And eventually what happens is, you know, endless cases I have of parents coming saying, he's a good kid, he was a good kid. And then suddenly he lost it all. And that's because over time it's worn away. And then eventually they've got involved in some wrong activities and involved with the wrong crowd. And now they're up to no good, and, you know, it's in a dangerous situation. And a lot of these kids probably followed suit. But a lot of it does come down to what role are the parents playing? And that also links to the fact that, you know, and I always talk about this, is, you know, what are fathers doing? You know, there's statistics, there's research that has shown and proven the benefits of a father being involved, or an involved father playing that active role. And when there is a father involved, the statistics they use a lot in the States as well, because States, they suffer from a lot of broken homes, and a lot of especially young Afro-Caribbean boys who are growing up in single parents' home or without the father. Statistics, especially in America, are showing that boys have been involved in gangs, in crimes, in so much drugs and other criminality, falling out of education because of a lack of a father figure in their life. And there's a clear correlation between those who do have a father figure and the impact it has. They said behavior in schools improve, in society improves. They stay away from these things. And there's also a massive impact on girls, because girls are going into promiscuous relationships, into exploitation and all of those kind of things. Because why? Girls also do crave a male attention, a father figure in their life. And because they never received that from their father, they go around and they start searching for attention in other places. And it's a psychological thing. That's why there's a term that you heard, not a nice term, but they said, you know, a girl's got daddy issues, or, you know, there's a little term that they use. And that's because of the absent fathers played. And because of that, they're latching onto any male attention that they're receiving.
There is a big, like a big gap in this. Like this, what you just pointed out, in our Muslim community as well. Like literally, a lot of women are reaching out, having boyfriends, and like they know it's toxic, but they won't let go because they're searching for, or looking for a father, like, you know, what's that? What did you say? I don't want to say father figure, but
male attention, really.
Male attention, yeah.
Yes. So it's really, as I said, so the impact is very big, and that's why it becomes so important that what we're seeing, and this is not a slant on mothers, single mothers, but I raised this point before. It's a very hot topic, like, and it's a question I posed, and this is based on the research that I've done in this topic. I asked, I said, there isn't really a right answer, but I'll get to the point. I said, who is more important, a mother or a father in today's society?
Yeah.
So I posed that question. So everybody was giving it, and it was very viral. I know a lot of people were making comments on it saying, obviously both standard, and yes, of course, naturally having both a mother and father is the best situation. But it was very specific. In today's society, today's climate, what we were at, what role is more important? Now, it isn't really a clear-cut answer, but what I have said is mothers, mashallah, those who are single mothers, a lot of them are doing fantastic jobs in raising children. And we've seen in the past some great ulama and tabi'in and tabi'in who are raised by single mothers. Look at Isa alayhi salam, single mother. Yeah. But what we're seeing is now more and more that from those single mother homes, there are coming out from them as well children or boys who are engaged in very bad activities. And the reason why is because their father figure isn't present in that life. Yeah. And that's not always down to the mother's fault.
I totally agree.
And so that's why I say actually the reason we're seeing a lot of connections with rise of this yobbish behavior, this kind of, the youth, how they are today compared to before, is because the father, number one, just the physical presence of a father has a massive impact. Forget doing anything else. So in a lot of homes, the father isn't even physically present. And what we're also seeing now is some fathers are physically present, but they're absent in every other way.
Yeah.
And that's also having a direct impact. So a father could be there, but the kids are out doing drugs. The kids are out, selling, dealing. They're involved in gangs and other violence and crime. Yeah. And that's all getting linked to because a father may be physically present, but he's not playing a role actively in that child's life. And because of that, they're going wayward.
It's a domino effect, in my opinion. I definitely agree that to today's society, father is a must, right? And sisters just don't understand that. And like, I'm getting cases that come to me about these these wasted sisters who are depriving their ex-husband or even husband, they're separated or whatever, from seeing their child. Like, seriously, like I could right now swear, because I know cases left, right, center, that sisters are for no reason putting fake accusations against the ex-husbands. And the husband's like, you know what? Why should I bother? This is like crazy. Yeah, I know certain fathers who, not fathers. I know of a couple of cases where fathers have just said, "Look, I don't care about the kid," after having 5-6 kids, and that's kind of deep. Yeah, they go, and I go to him, "You're nuts, bro. Like, I can't imagine living without my son." And you're talking about how, like, you've had enough. You're letting go of your wife after having like 6 kids or 5 kids, and you just don't care about them. You want to live a life. I was shocked, bro. That this is the kind of like situation we're in. But the majority of the cases is single mothers. Why are the single mothers out there like acting like they don't need men in their life, and causing problems, preventing them seeing their kids?
There's a whole issue there because society has geared itself in such a way that with the rise of feminism, and all of those things is having a massive detrimental impact, where it is creating a culture of generations to say, okay, women, they don't need men.
Wasted, man. Man,
and
wasted.
This ties in a lot with this whole LGBT promotion and push, where actually women can do it with, women can be with women and they could raise a family together. They don't need men and all of those things. So it's got a massive push around in many different sectors of society, from the issues around to gender equality to sexuality and all of those kind of things. And they're pushing in every level. And that's having its impact. Now, Allah created men and women. They need each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Allah says, الرجال قوامون على النساء, that the men have been made to be the protectors, guardians of women. And it's there, and that's because of the natural makeup and disposition of a man and a woman. Yeah. So Allah's created in such a way a woman is vulnerable in situations to a man, to do with that, and physical and other specific needs. Allah's created us. So why are we always going against the grain? It doesn't mean we're not saying women can't do anything or all of those kind of things in terms of work and other things. That's a different discussion. I'm talking about just the bare basics that a lot of the times women think yes they can go it alone because it's been implanted that yes we can do it. Now that's not to take away from there are many toxic marriages, yeah, where in those marriages it's very harmful. There could have been many issues with women suffering domestic violence and all of those things. So
abuse,
I'm not taking that away because that's a different discussion. Yeah, the point that you raised is true that I am also hearing about more and more, and it's hard to put a figure on what the landscape looks like, but of people who a marriage can break down. That can happen. Two people can say, okay, it's not working. Yeah. But what should never happen is the children should never be deprived of either of the parents. So if there's a dad who's depriving the mum just because I don't like you and I'm trying to hurt you, that's wrong as well as
but the system plays for the sisters.
But the system is rigged for women, yes.
Yeah, it is. Bro, a sister can claim, oh, he pranked me. Oh, he's harassing me. Oh, he's threatened me. Or he called me a private number. Next minute, you get police knocking on your door, bro, asking you to hand over your phone, your laptop, any other devices. Like, it's that stupid, bro. Like, I know brother got arrested the other day. Bro, my man hasn't been in contact for 2 years, going for legal proceedings and stuff like that. Randomly, they just came home and just arrested him. Took all his laptops, work laptop, personal laptop, phone, everything, and said that, oh, you've been harassing your ex-wife. He's like, what? It's like, after 2 years. It's, bruv, sisters are mad, bruv. I remember I was in police station for something similar. Well, I was accused for some madness by my ex-wife and my ex-in-laws, right? Some mad stuff, right? Alhamdulillah, I got NFA'd on all of them. And in fact, they wanted to prosecute her, which I stopped. I said, you know what? Bygones be bygones. Let it be. Do you get it? Because there were some serious allegations. And you know what the police officer said to me? He said to me, off the record, he said, why does Asian women do that? Like South Asian women do that. We get like literally case after case after case where, they put injunctions on their ex-husbands. And it's like something so stupid because they just want to get back at them. And that's when you just realize, hang on, this is so dumb. Do you get it? I don't think any woman has the right. If he's a druggie, if he abuses, if he is like messed up in the head, then by all means fight for those cases. Do you get it? Like, you can't let your kid see this guy unless he's clean or under supervision, 100%. But wallahi, the amount of brothers I know that are facing hardship where they can't see their kids because the wife has put an injunction for no reason, just to get back at them, just because they didn't get along. The kids are suffering. Brothers are wasting 20, 30 grand. Some are spending more just to see their kid once a week. This is the situation brothers are in. And the sisters, they play the system so well. Do you get it? And I just don't understand why. Just bloody get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just horrible, man.
It's the dangerous part of it is, like I said, children are being weaponized. And that's the one thing that I can't stand. Couples can break up. It's fine. You can hate each other's guts if need be. But do not weaponize the children. And that's the key part of it. As long as, like I said, there's some caveats to that, which is ensuring that, obviously,
the safety of the child.
Yes. But sometimes it goes even further. Something, because there was he was verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, all of those things. That's used to say he's not safe for the kids. Now that's a complete. I don't accept that unless you actually see somewhere where they're actually in physically danger or anything like that. Because I've seen a lot of times where now remember, DV isn't necessarily just physical. It's all the emotional and the behavioral and all the other things that are thrown into it. Some things are non-tangible. You can't actually evidence. But if the accusation's thrown, it's quite hard.
When something, look, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but when something like DV for me has to be physical, has to be verbal swearing to a point where it's leading to domestic violence, right? Anything before that, please don't give me that the sisters don't play it better than the brothers. Do you get it? The sisters are worse when it comes to emotional messing with someone's head. Do you get where I'm coming from? Like there are some cases where brothers are quite they mess with women's head, yeah. There are instances, but we're bred differently, bro. Like women and men are different. You know, you telling me a woman can't talk, a woman can't trigger things off, a woman can't emotionally mess you up. But us men, we just think like one or two things at one time. They think about 100 things at one time. That's how they attack you with 100 things. Like they bring up the past, they bring up what you did then, or like the littlest thing, bruv, they bring it up. Men don't care about this stuff. Do you know where I'm coming from? So don't give me that like that emotional falls into DV. It doesn't. There's two different things, bro. The DV is domestic violence. Let's stick to that. I don't. Let's not bring the emotional side to DV. Horrendous, man.
I can see you've suffered a lot of domestic violence, bro.
Yeah, bro. I really did. I'm not gonna lie, bro, man.
You're letting it loose. Sorry,
Yeah.
I've not got much experience about that, so I'll just
Yeah.
stay quiet.
Nah. Like genuinely, bro. Like, jokes aside, I just think that like it's everything has been is watered down now. Do you know what I mean? On the men's side, like for example, men don't get emotionally hurt. Men don't get domestic violence towards them. Like if a girl punches a man, deal with it. Like a man won't talk about it. A man won't even bring it up. All right, I get the power difference. When a man hits a woman, yeah, by all means, like if someone did it to my sister, or someone did it to a sister that I know, by all means, I'll step up for that. Do you get it? Because I was like,
Yeah,
come
no,
on,
I can't stand that. You know, that's one of my biggest fears for my daughters is that I'm seeing cases, especially of people who are quote unquote religious or, you know, in that sense, who are violent, who are just violent. And, you know, I always just think, I know it's hard to say like that, but I always think, look, I was a child as well, and I had really bad anger issues. I still do, I say, up until this point. But it's not something that would ever lead me to raising my hands.
Yeah.
Never, you can get angry, you can work things through, but I've never done that. And so I take an issue to that point, which is how can you, raise
hit
your
a woman.
hand? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and that boils down to a lot of the stuff that man himself has got issues that he needs to deal with, basically. Yeah. But a lot.
I remember, bro, like a man was hitting a woman, his wife, in New Road. I swear, it just reminded me of my upbringing, where hitting a woman was normal. Do you get it? And I remember, like, I stopped domestic violence in my house. I stopped it physically. Do you get me? I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I was one of the key people to say it's not gonna happen in this house ever again. Do you get it? Even in my generation, it's not gonna happen ever again. Like, because it was just a normal thing for men older than me, or generation above me, just to do whatever they like to women. But now it's too late, mate. Like you'll get battered. I don't care if you're my father, my uncle, my brother, wherever you are. You touch a woman, I'll beat you up. That's how it's just well fact known issue. Do you get me? If I hear about it, I don't care who you are, because you shouldn't be beating a woman up. But I saw that on the streets, bro. Do you get it? And when I saw that in the streets, bro, I just said, "What are you doing to this guy?" Yeah, the guy goes, "That's my wife. I stay out of it." That's what he said to me. And I was like thinking, Sasa, you can't do that. He's an old man. I was like thinking, you can't do that, Sasa. Like, you're going to get done for it. His wife's like, Kitchusana. Nothing happened. Carry on. And I was like, rah. And the thing is, like, I could easily hit that guy or get involved or whatever, etc. But you will see that these women have been battered so much in their life that they will forgive him and end up attacking you, saying, "Stop, what are you hitting my husband for?" Do you get it? Because that's what happened to my mothers and my aunties and stuff like that. Like when you're stopping the man from hitting them, they come at you and say, "Oh yeah, blah 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 blah," etc. Because it's become so normalized for them. It's standard for them. Does it make sense?
Yeah, a lot of it is learned behaviors. We've seen generation upon generation that woman's role is this and man's like that, and we just take it. And when you start changing the shifting the dynamic, everything happens. And
Yeah.
so it's even like we talked about it before. Like we talked about men doing chores,
Mm.
but I made a point, which is I know that my wife has a specific role, I have a specific role,
Mhm.
but however, there's fluidity when helping each other out, and that's an important part, like the Prophet ﷺ used to do.
Salah Islam.
So in the past, when I did help out do something, remarks were made by other members, notably female members, and I had to put them in the place and say, "What are you talking about?" And I said, at the end of the day, if you want for the fact that if you're only saying that because you've been brought up in a certain way, and in fact, if your husband had done that for you, would you not be happy? I just shut him up because that's what he was. But the point is, a lot of it is a learned upbringing. It's something that they've seen and they've continued. And when you talked about before about men, I've had cases come to me of men suffering domestic violence. Yeah, it seems very strange. Some of these guys are big guys,
Yeah.
but what it is, and they are actually suffering and they are being tortured. Now, yeah, it's not a big number in comparison to say females going through DV, but there are cases of these things that are coming through, so it can happen. Although sometimes logically we might think, how does that work? The other thing is, you talk about men. Men do hurt. Yeah, but the problem is society and the way we've created a culture is tough love.
Yeah.
Boy falls over, oh, you'll be all right. Don't worry, you're a man. You're suppressing pain. Yeah, you're suppressing. It's all about suppressing, not expressing.
Yeah.
And what happens is they think expressing is a sign of weakness. It's not. In fact, and I did a short video on this. It's actually on my YouTube, and I wrote an article, if I'm correct, as well. And this is again available on the website, which talks about how the link between depression and what happened in childhood.
Yeah.
And a whole actually video that I've got. It's a short video, but it's about, is depression due to weak iman? Now I said no, it's not. There are some cases where depression will be linked to weak iman because you're far away from Deen and the depressions come in, and you need the light of Islam to help you. But then there's people who are practicing, who have iman, but they can also go through low mood and depression. And there is a correlation between childhood. When they were young, they were always told, "Oh, don't worry, you fell over, you hurt yourself. Oh, don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah.
You're a boy, man up, tough love, all that stuff." Yeah.
Yeah. Standard.
Now, what's happened over time though? That person's had to suppress it. So the child's like, I'm feeling pain, but I can't cry. It makes me weak. And over time, what happens is, one chain of thought that starts arising is that I feel pain. There's something wrong with me because men don't feel pain. That's what you're teaching a child. Men don't feel pain. Of course they do. All human beings feel pain. Yeah, so you're suppressing that. And so what happens later in life when they start feeling other hurt and emotional pain, they don't know how to deal with it. Because they never had the opportunity as a child to be able to be soothed and guided through the path. So when a child does hurt themselves, allow them to say, yes, you have to connect. Yes, it's pain. You will hurt yourself. Not say, don't worry, it's okay. No, don't do that. You're negating their emotions. You let them express their emotions, but what happens through that process? By them doing that, they start learning that pain is temporary. And then after that comes relief. So when they go into adulthood, and they suffer greater other kind of pains, obviously, as well, they will also remember it's temporary and then there's relief afterwards. A lot of people get stuck in depression because why? They can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. They can't see this ending. Or they've been programmed in such a way that I'm always like this. I'm just rubbish. I'm always going to feel I'm weak. I'm all of those things because it's been ingrained in them as a young child. You're weak if you feel pain. So there's a connection. Obviously, we can talk a lot more detail about it in a separate time maybe, but there's a connection between that. So men do, and I think a lot of it's to do with how society has nurtured and create this concept of a man is like this. No, men can go through those difficulties, those pains, but what happens is strong men come out being able to control and navigate those emotions.
So yeah, I completely get what you're saying. So what is, like, the brothers are losing hope. As soon as they go through divorce, they're like, you know what, I gotta go through all this proceeding to see my son or my daughter or wherever it is. They go through it. Some sisters, alhamdulillah, they're very, very, cooperative. They literally they understand the importance of having a father. And I've seen certain brothers still see their kids regularly, and they moved on with their lives and they're happy. They just said, we're not meant to be together. Usually you see these are the people that had education, Islamic education, and some sort of understanding of bringing a child up. Like, they had good parenting themselves.
That's what I would say. More than the education, bro. people's behavior is based on how they're parented,
Yeah.
and you have to realize that a lot of the way you are behaving is because of the circumstances in which you were nurtured. It's what you saw from your parents, what you saw in and around you, that has a massive impact. So, like you said, people who are able to go past the divorce and do what's like known as co-parenting.
Yeah.
So they're separate, but they work together for the betterment of their child.
Yeah.
It's doable. But people who do that is because they're in a certain mindset, and all of that's because it's been ingrained in how they were nurtured and raised. Other people have been raised in such, just in the complete opposite ways, and then society has its impact, and this whole thing about, especially for sisters, what happens is, you go girl, don't worry, we got your back, and a lot of these things about, we've got the back of sister, irrespective if she's right or wrong. They've got this sisterhood kind of pack kind of mentality,
Yeah.
and they don't get called out even if they're wrong, because you know why? No, women stick together, women's rights, and that's where the element of feminism and all this other stuff come in. It really pollutes everything. And
There's divorce groups, you know that? There's divorce groups. I found out not so long ago. What
is a divorce group? Sorry,
like literally groups of sisters that are divorced in a group, WhatsApp group, and stuff like that. It's nuts, bro. I won't go into the story yet, but maybe when we talk about divorce, we can go into this. I think divorce is definitely a subject that we need to go deep into, deep dive. Let's not do it today. But let's go back to fathers being involved in single parent, or fathers being involved in the child's upbringing, in music and knives and stuff like that. Let's just wrap that up. So genuinely, I genuinely think, and correct me if I'm wrong, like just making sure you have that connection, whether it's with your nephew or your son or your daughters, and get to really know who their friends are and who the friends' parents are. I think that really helps, because look, a few things could come out of it, right? Once you get to know your nephew well, or I've got a son who's that age to go to school. So once I know my nephew and his friends, like just we get a rough idea who smokes, who doesn't, who's like talks in a certain way and stuff like that, and then really just get to invite them over and let their parents know that you've got them in your house, and give them a munch, buy something and tell them to all eat and stuff like that. So what comes out of it, you get to know these kids' parents as well, and you have a network among them. And once you have a network, once they're at each other's house, you can just WhatsApp each other or call each other and saying, "Yo, is my nephew there? Yes or no?" Does it make sense? And they're like, "Yeah, he's there. He's not. Okay, he's not there. So where is he? He's meant to be home by now. Whatnot." And then what happened was, once you get to know their friends and their surrounding, their upbringing, you get a rough idea of which direction they're going. Are they going towards like this like ghetto mentality, or they're fully focused in education or anything on those lines? And then I'm thinking something along the lines of like educating them about knives, what goes on in school, like what's happened, what's the latest, like where's the beefs at with areas and stuff like that. I just found out like recently, the knife crime that happened in Cannon Street. Yeah, and it just happens to be like some of my family members, like the nephews, were actually around that area. And like it was just, when we heard about it, we were shocked. It was angry. The parents were angry. It's just that they're such good kids, but they're so eager to go and see it because it was so close by, or to witness it, or wherever it is. It's just mad. Like it could have been my nephew there in that situation. So that definitely where they're going, when they're gonna be back, a bit more involvement. And usually what happens is kids brush their mothers very quickly, like yeah, don't worry, yeah, whatever, etc. But when it comes to their father or an uncle or whatever, we should be saying like, "Yo, where are you? What are you up to?" In a nice way, so that he doesn't feel like he has to lie. But it's like, "Oh, what are you up to? Oh, you coming home, yeah?" Be more involved. And that's where, I've noticed this, subhanAllah, like, my brother-in-laws, they're heavily involved with their kids. The kids, like, literally tell their fathers everything. literally what's going on, which teacher said this and that, which kid's doing this and that, and like he wants to improve in this area. The father invests money, saying, okay, you want to be a footballer, all right, you go football training, I'll make sure you do that. Okay, father goes and buys him trainers, or goes training with him. I said, you know what, you played all right today. Try to improve your passing, work on this and that, etc. And it was just amazing to see like how my nephews are growing up. But I can't ever see him carry a knife. But it's just his surrounding, because he's fortunate. He's not living in a council estate. He's got a house. Dad's got money and stuff like that. So, what advice would you personally give to those council estate fathers who are having to work hard day and night, not being able to be involved in their kids' upbringing as much because they have to have food on the plate? Like, what would you recommend?
With the involvement of fathers, it's not just about the the issue of, like you said, finding out and talking and all of those things. Now, these are actually symptoms of or the outcomes of something else, and that's about relationship. Yeah. The key thing with anything is a relationship. So if we were to just zoom out a bit and think about, okay, right, a marriage, we talk about, yeah, when a marriage is working and is going well, it's because what happens in the marriage is the relationship starts bonding and the trust builds, and because of that, then you listen to each other more, and many other things come from that. But when the relationship breaks down, if you say something, your wife won't listen to you. If your wife says something, you won't listen, because why? The relationship is fractured, and eventually what it leads to is divorce, isn't it? So you have to look at it with anything, with a friend. When you've got a tight relationship with them, you share things more, you do things more, and you listen to their advice. You'll follow their guidance. Yeah. So same thing for children. Why is it that we look at it different? A lot of the time, the reason why we look at it different is because as a father, you are automatically in a position of authority, and they're already automatically below you. Where marriages maybe are, okay, right, you're a spouse. Friendships, you're on level footing, aren't you? Whereas this one, the dynamic automatically is that you have power, they don't. And so sometimes what ends up happening, we start exerting power and thinking kids are listening. That's just because of the fact that the power dynamic is you have more power than them. As they get older, their power increases or their fear decreases. So what ends up happening is they come to a more middle level, and then they realize, hang on a minute, I don't need to be scared of him anymore. Defiance kicks in, and all of those stuff starts happening. So the main thing I was trying to get to is to get kids to listen, to get kids to really engage, and all of those things. It boils down to relationship. You need to build a relationship. It seems so easy to say, or maybe some sounds stupid to say, really, but that's the problem. Parents a lot of the time don't have a relationship. So one of the things you can think about is, as a parent, whether you're a mother or a father, even in this case, is you just think back and think, okay, all of today, all of yesterday, think back and say, okay, when was the last time I spoke to my child? By speaking, I mean is having a conversation which does not include instructions, departing instructions, or reprimanding. Because that's the two usual things that parents always do, isn't it? They tell them to kid, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, or telling them off basically. Why did you do this? Or giving them instructions. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do that. Take that all away. When was the last time you actually had a conversation?
How
with
does that
children?
look?
It could be about anything.
Yeah, tell me.
Like you
Okay,
said,
I'm
right.
a kid. I'm your. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay, fine. Look. It's not about the role play. It's about content in conversation. So if I sit with my child, you can ask them about school. You can find out more about that. You can talk about specific subjects. You've already talked about it, like they said, about what they're interested in, what they're not interested in. But it could be a conversation about anything. Your child will come to you and start saying, "Oh yeah, but look at this. I learned something new here." Da, da, da. And then, or you talk about something else, or something happened to me. I'm like, "Oh, guess what happened to me today?" It's a two-way conversation, not me just about getting information. So I'm going to my son, "Oh, you never guess what happened today. I was driving and this thing happened, that thing happened," and he would sit there, he'd have a laugh and whatever. But that's a conversation, isn't it? Now, my point being is, what would you do with a friend? You'd have a conversation. As your kids get older, you can have more and more of an adult-based conversation with them. Obviously, when they're younger, the dynamics are different. But when they're younger, kids usually want to tell you things. So listen to them and do that. And as they get older, you're going to see maybe they might not be as energetic as they were when they were younger, but you still have this conversation. So you share as well, and you have that. I just find it really strange when parents can't have those conversations. You're telling me put them on the spot, but it's just that I'll go home, the kids will come and start talking one thing from another. We started talking about, I don't know, science lesson, And next thing you know, we're talking about, I don't know, cars or something else. We've gone from one thing completely to another. We're talking about houses or whatever. The conversation can flow, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's just a conversation. Like we're having a conversation now. We've kind of really veered left and right, related topics, but that's what we've done. So the key thing is build a relationship. So okay, how do we build a relationship? That's the natural question. Especially with dads who, like I said, they may be very busy and not have time. It's about carving out some time. Yeah, you have to carve out some time because you will have some time. There is some time where you're with the kids. Now, what we want to do is create some consistency in that time. And then what it is the main thing is a lot of the times dads might be busy, they're tired, they come home, I ain't got time. Make time. Give it to your children. And that's what you need to do. You need to have quality time with your children. And I always say this, by all means try and do group stuff as a family, but one of the key things is having one-to-one time. You and that one child. You and child number 2. You and child number 3, and so on, yeah? But one-to-one time is key. Every child requires one-to-one time. So that could mean short ones in a day-to-day thing. So every day, you can sit down. It could be just a 10-minute, just me and... So you're my son here. We're sitting in one room. The kids there somewhere else. Having a chat. That's one-to-one time. Yeah? We could do something together. Even one-to-one time could be dad's got, I don't know, put a shelf up. Call his son. Oh, give me a hand. You're doing something together.
Yeah.
Yeah? This builds relationship. Being in and around your parents and talking, these build relationships. While these might be small things, then also try to have where in a week spend something a bit more quality. Do something together. Create something that you'll enjoy amongst yourselves, a memory. And do that. So it could be that, okay, just this son, okay, well, let's go out. You might do something when you're outside. You might do an activity. You might go and, anything, go fishing, go whatever, my point is go for a walk.
I get it.
So creating those things then creates that relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not a relationship here because otherwise what happens is kids always think, dad's always telling me off. Dad's always telling me to do this. Dad's always telling me to do that. That's what ends up a kid's life.
This is very common, bro.
Yeah.
Like even today, someone was telling me, like, someone was saying, my husband doesn't understand my kids. I'm always like, my husband actually told me today, like, what do I actually do? And I hit the roof. And I said, why would you say that? We all know what you do. Do you get me? You're a good girl, a good sister. Do you get it? Like, we know you're heavily involved with your kids and stuff like that. And she goes, like, I just don't know, Nur. Give me advice. Like, how do I speak to my husband? And she asked, so how do I speak to him? What do I talk to him about? Or do you want to talk to my husband? I said, look, if your husband, I know he's my brother-in-law, but if he finds out that you're talking to me about these issues, he'll get pissed off. Do you get it? So, and I said to him, like, talk to him. Like, drop the kids either to me or to Khala's house. Yeah, drop them. You go out with him and just talk. Do you get it? She goes, that's exactly what we did yesterday. I go, what do you mean? Like, yesterday night we went out to talk and he just wound me up. He goes, what do I do all day? I've got no connection with the kids. I've got nothing, this and that. And I was like, I've got no connection with the kids. I'm with them all day long. I'm feeding them, cleaning them, changing them, dropping them to school. And he had the audacity to tell me I don't have no involvement. I don't have a relationship with my kids. And the kids don't talk to him at all because he gets frustrated with them. He doesn't understand them. They're scared of him to go and talk to him because that's going to tell us off. So how dare does he tell me that I don't have a relationship with my kids? And I was like, okay, then maybe you need to point it out very clearly and openly and in a very nice way, but not get into an argument because you can't get angry. Even if he winds you up, you can't get angry because that's when he finishes because you guys clearly don't understand the concept of with one of you is angry, the other one stays quiet, stays calm. And if the other one's angry, you just don't know that concept because you just want to be who's better than who wears the trousers, who's got the power. That's where your problem is. The moment you realize, hang on, he's angry, I'm going to be calm. Do you get it? Regardless of whatever he says, let him batter me. Do you get it? And vice versa. When the woman is having a moment.
Not physically battering.
No, not physically battering. You know what I'm getting at, right? And if, like, for example, sometimes my wife does get frustrated. Like, she comes and she tells me, can you put him to sleep? Like, my son. And then half an hour later, she's coming into the room, and there's me playing Superman with my son. And she's like, "You still haven't put him to sleep? What are you doing?" Because she's very routine. And I get it. And she's like, "Oh, you know what? I feel like I'm having to do everything." And I'm just sitting there like I know what I do. You get me? But I'm not getting angry. I'm not gonna say, "What do you mean? I do this, 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 this." I apologize. Do you get it? I said, "All right, sorry. You know what? I'm just tiring him out because he's so active. I put him to bed. He's getting up and he's saying, Amma, Amma, Amma. He wants to get out. So what am I supposed to do?" So I was playing with him, made him tired, and then he went to sleep. For you, it was easy for him to put to sleep because he's got no energy. But I spoke to her afterwards when she calmed down. She understood. And I said same to my cousin. It's like, you need to do that. You need to calm down. Don't get angry because did you get angry? She goes, "Yeah, I got angry." I said, there you go. I said, you two just need to have a proper good conversation and stop talking silly stuff like, "Oh, I don't know if how long I can do this. I don't know if I can be with the person." And these are shaitan talking that don't even utter those kind of stuff. Like, take them out of the conversation. Just, if you want to seek advice, go to marriage counseling. Go to, there's so much books about this kind of stuff. Ease your heart. Like, find things that calms you down. Take yourself in another dimension. But no, we just want to fight. We just want to argue. This is the society we're in. Who wears the trousers?
Yeah, it's a selfish society. Who wins? Arguments is all about egos. At the end of the day, who's right, and even if you're wrong, you want to be right, or whatever it may be. But going back to that point, I think what is really important is the relationship. The relationship is there. Parents say, "How can I get my kids to love Salah and Quran and all of those things?" It goes back to, okay, you.
Yeah.
One is, what's your relationship to those habits?
Yeah.
And secondly, what's your relationship to your child? And those things, if your relationship is tight with them and your habits are good, you see your kids will automatically pick things up.
Do you believe the fact that you and your wife are two different people, and then suddenly, you might have a habit of reading. Like, my wife's got a very good habit of reading. I don't, and you told me how to get into it and stuff like that, right? And still, I find it very difficult. But don't you think it's genetically embedded into my son? Either he's gonna be like me, or like my wife.
Or not
Do you
necessarily.
is that the case? Not just reading, with just anything, like even like memorizing. He might be genetically be gifted with that.
Some people will have better abilities than others in certain skills.
Yeah.
I always say, for example, I had bad handwriting. Yeah.
Mm.
And I remember my dad had really nice handwriting, mashallah. His cursive handwriting, very beautiful. My mum's handwriting is bad, yeah. So my brother, his handwriting was nice. He got dad's on, yeah. My mum's bad. I got mum's one. My sister was somewhere in the middle, yeah. So I got a bit of both, yeah. Then go down to my kids, yeah. I look at, okay, my older son, his handwriting isn't the best, but it's probably better than mine still, I think. My daughter, again, very mashallah, very beautiful. My son, not so good. So when I've seen it, the boys and my older son, my next son, again, their handwriting isn't that good. And that's something that they've got, I would say, from dad's side, which goes back to mom's side. So there's certain things you can say. With practice, you can get better at it, but it might not be as easy as, like you said, somebody who's already naturally gifted at something. So with everything, I said, with every skill, is you can get good at it.
Okay, so then there comes my next point. My next point is, if a kid is supposed to be an Asbo kid, he's going to be an Asbo kid because he's genetically like that. No?
Because a lot of this is to do with your character. Yeah. Now, all of these things, a child being disruptive. Look, there's certain things that can be from a health perspective. Like, you got ADHD.
Yeah.
These things are quite very much within the DNA makeup. That's different. Yeah, the person's.
Yeah,
like
I was
that,
getting to that. That was going to be my next point. Yeah, you touching on it.
So it's not the case of that being, what you can do is learn to manage it. And that's a different thing. Yep. But with others, like I said, with behavior generally, it's learned. Yeah, and they can get better at it. There's certain things you can say they're more comfort zone you and you fall into. Some things your strengths or some things you're weaker at, but everything can be learned. Character is the one thing that that comes from parents. The way the parents are themselves, and the way they treat and they raise their children, character is learnt from that. So I don't believe that an Asbo kid is just born to be an Asbo kid. I do feel that a lot of them, why do you think they have stereotypes? Those who are kids that are Asbo kids, they tend to come from council estate families, parents being like chavs or whatever it is. These are the kind of stereotypes that are drawn, isn't it? And the reason why the stereotypes have come about is because there's a correlation in lifestyle and behavior and in ethics and morals and character that rub off onto the next generations. But that's become nice and synonymous with those who are a bit more upper class. They raise their kids in this way. Those who are low, that's not the case anymore. Now everything's getting mashed up in the kid level because kids are interacting with other kids and so many different learned behaviors come from others. But generally speaking, these things are from the parents. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? He said that there's nothing better a father can give to his child than good manners. So that means it's something that a father gives, meaning he doesn't actually like give it on the plate, meaning through his raising, through the tarbiyah, through his conduct, through how he's raising his children, the child develops good manners.
And that's it. That's what I was waiting for. I'm not gonna brag about it, but I was getting you to get to this point of fathers being involved with their child, and the end result is what we got to finally, alhamdulillah,
Inshallah.
which is a father giving gems such as good mannerism, etiquettes to their children is exactly what these kids need. If the father is going to continuously push the kid away, the kid eventually will seek out companionship. It might be through friends, and it might not be the right friends who don't know how to guide him. Then he seeks for other friends to fit in. Like a ghetto kid might actually be his like protection rather than his father, and that's where it leads to him being in the wrong place. Exactly what happened to me. And that's why I was getting to a point where you said it rather than I said it. Where in school, if I didn't face domestic violence at home, getting beats left, right, center, and I ended up finding friends who was my protection. If it wasn't for that, then like I think I don't know where I would have been, because at home it was like you can't go to anyone. Does it make sense? And in school, it was like, yeah, man, these are my brothers. These are my protectors. And they led me to doing other like illegal stuff, like joyriding or bunking school or doing things that I don't want to name in public, right? And it led to that because of the fact that I didn't have that male thingy. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
But it came to a point where when I was 16, 17, it was like, you're Nur, you're going completely astray, and then that's when my family got hold of me again. Does that make sense? Because they were like, look, all of us are really good. Why are you like that? And it came to a point where, they knew you're joyriding. What did they do? They gave me money to go and get my license. Then once I passed, after taking 4 lessons or something, they were like, okay, my brother was like, I'm going to insure you my car. So therefore you're not driving illegally. So I was driving legally at the age of 17 in my brother's was it BMW 5 Series at the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of privilege I had because I had good siblings who was able to help me. But not everyone is fortunate like that. So this is what I'm saying. Like, if the father is going to be aggressive, not welcoming, it's going to be very hard for the kid to come to him. And that's where he loses it, because he has to have someone he can find protection from or guidance from. And he's going to go to his friends eventually. And if he goes to his friends, it's game over, my friend. You've lost your child. So definitely, by all means, it's never too late. Go and reach out to your child. Talk to him. Go out with him. Spend some time. You know what? First couple of days might not be comforting, or like might be awkward. But eventually, you know what? Once you take him everywhere with you, he'll depend on you. He'll go places with you. Go somewhere cool with you. Spend some money. So, if you haven't got the money, then go to the park, play football. If he doesn't like sports, then go, on a long drive. Or talk to him about things. Go and munch something. Do you know where I'm coming from? Fathers really, really need to re-engage with their kids, because there's too many fathers out there now who are just work, money, money, money. That's all they think about, and they think that their wife is gonna do the job for them, but that's what the job is. No, it's not, man. It's not, because we're lucky because our generation's like avoided going astray completely. But there's loads of brothers who didn't go, so who didn't survive this. They're still on the streets now, either drunk, smackhead, or drug dealing. Like our age, they're still doing it, man. And your kids are going to be following that soon. If you don't know what they're carrying, who they're with, or what they're up to.
And for you to get to that point, you need to have that relationship. And I think that's really what I would like to conclude on, which is fathers need to make time. Sorry, my voice is really bad today. But fathers need to make time and build that relationship. And remember, it doesn't have to be about telling your kids what to do, but it's about time. Because, when you give time to someone, it builds respect, it builds trust, then it builds openness. So then now if you give some advice, they will listen more. All of those things come into play. It's really, really important. I say it's a foundation. If there's no relationship, then, it's trouble.
Yeah, definitely. Like, a couple of advice that I'll give is, like, get involved in what your son listens to, what he's up to. If there's something that you have a great skill in, like I read something about this father who knows programming, taught their kids how to program, and these kids are making 120 grand a pop making these NFTs, like cryptos and stuff like that. And I was just thinking, like, rah, I don't mind teaching my kids trading at a young age. Like, I give them like pocket money so they can go out there and trade. If they lose it, they lose it. Does that make sense? But it's an experience that I have that I can pass on to my kids. I'm thinking, like, why not? Like, subhanAllah, like, that's something that we can possibly have in common, me and my son, when he grows up. But yeah, anyway.
Alhamdulillah. I think there's a lot we discussed today. We went around a bit, but they're all very much connected. It all goes back to the same thing.
Yeah, definitely not need to touch on domestic violence again. I think that we confuse domestic violence with domestic abuse.
Yeah.
I think they're two different things.
Mm.
So for sure, like, domestic violence is not the same as domestic abuse. So if you're gonna say, like, emotionally, like, doing this to a sister, or sister doing the domestic abuse is very common with sisters, and that's very common. And I'm not gonna, like, back off from that. But brothers do it as well. Do you get me? And it hurts. But domestic violence is very common with brothers. It's like, I don't know of brothers who got abused physically. Doesn't make sense. Well, there might be case.
I do.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, but yeah,
No.
it's something that we could definitely touch on
Yeah,
one
inshallah.
day, and definitely next topic, I reckon we should touch on divorce.
Inshallah, we'll look at that. So please don't forget, do like, subscribe, share, comment, and share your thoughts regarding the topics we've discussed today. And also don't forget, please do subscribe to our Patreon. It enables us to continue to make content. And again, do also share some suggestions for future topics that you'd like to be discussed, inshallah. Hopefully very soon now, we'll be getting on some live guests very soon, inshallah, in the studio. And also, as you know now, we're now releasing the full podcasts on YouTube. So again, I hope you are benefiting from them as well.
Inshallah. On that note, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.